like, this will solve my problems, like, and then I just, like, couldn't really stop, so.
Did you like one particular drug, or did you like everything you tried?
Well, so I would try one drug, and then I would like it for a while, and then I would want something harder.
All right. So, hey, everybody. My name is Mitch. I wanted to just thank everybody for coming out. Some of y'all know me. For the past few years, I was the drug and alcohol counselor over at the Gateway Academy, the alternative school here in Forsyth. And then about 3 months ago, I actually got offered the position to take over as the director of the Forsyth County Drug Awareness Council. Thank you. So, kind of just my background, right? Like, this has always been my field. Like, I personally am in recovery, and it's kind of always been something that I've been passionate about. And so I'm really honestly excited to just see everybody out here, right? Like, I know everybody works, and to get an email from some random guy you probably don't really know, like, hey, show up to this thing at 4:30. But I do want to say, like, it is a big deal, right? And just even looking around, like, everybody here that works with youth in the community, and how many youth, educating ourselves, we can actually impact and help move forward in the right direction. Before I get started, I wanted to give just a round of applause to everybody up here, right? Because, like I said, this is just a big deal, right? And for them to get up here and give some of their personal experience, one, that's scary, right, for anybody in any circumstances. But one of the things I told a handful of them, and it's a topic that I used to talk about a lot, is the ripple effect, right? And so how many people between everybody here that work with youth, their testimonies can really impact, right? And that's a huge number. And so once again, like I said, I'm grateful that y'all had made it out here. Kind of how this is going to go is I'm going to actually introduce Mike here for those of y'all that don't know him. This is Mike Cowan. He's the director of FullCircle here. He's going to give y'all a little bit of a rundown of FullCircle. I've known Mike for about 4 years now, and he's a hard worker, and he's a great fit here. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Mike.
Let's see if I can move this up just a bit. First off, thank you all for coming out. I mean, this is way better than we could have even imagined on a turnout. I mean, we don't even have enough seats. So first off, thank you all for coming out. So a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm a person in long-term recovery, and my journey kind of all started with FullCircle in Arizona, and that's where FullCircle is based out of, is in Phoenix, Arizona. And I showed up to FullCircle, Arizona, trying to be sober, and they gave me a full scholarship into treatment. And so that's where my journey kind of started. So I moved out here in September of 2020, and that's when the doors opened here for the FullCircle location. So we opened these doors in the height of COVID. We are currently servicing over 70 kids and families here. A little bit about how the program works is we're a 12-step based youth at risk program. We service ages 13 to 25, and we are a program of recovery. So we do 2 12-step meetings a week, and we do 2 social functions a week. To put that into perspective, I always use this as an example, and we're actually doing it this Saturday. So those functions the idea behind them is to find something more fun and more fulfilling than whatever the negative behavior was. So, we're not only substance abuse, we're mental health issues, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations, pornography, eating disorders, you name it. So those social functions, what they look like, this Saturday, for example, we're doing fly swatter hockey. So in here, we're going to completely convert the shop into, we'll have 2 goals, and it's my favorite, they know it's my favorite. You get 2 goals, and you get fly swatters and ping pong balls, and you play hockey, And it sounds so trivial, but, I mean, they get into it. I get into it. It's something fun. So that's just a kind of little example of what those look like. Yeah. Exactly. So that's a little bit about the program, and parent involvement's also a part of what we do. So we do parent meetings weekly. We do individual appointments with the kids and individual appointments with the parents. And one of the statistics that we really stick by is without changing that environment for the kids, with parent involvement, the success rate for the kid goes up by 30%, so that's one of the big things that we're really, really proud of here. We also just started sibling meetings, so we're meeting with some of the kids, some of their siblings here. So we're really, really happy about that as well. And all of our services are cost-free. So the only cost for the services here at FullCircle are for the functions. So say we go bowling, we'll get a group rate for $6, $7, and they'll have to pay for that. So other than that, it's a longer-term program. We offer our services for 2 to 3 years. So they have access to stay here for 2 to 3 years. So that's a little bit about the program. And then I wanted to just take a second and introduce the brave speakers here. So first off, we've got Emma Brown. Yeah, give it up for Emma. Emma Brown's awesome. She's been in multiple different service commitments here, and she is sitting up here with 14 months sober. So let's hear it for Emma. Next up, we got Polly Sarno. She has 9 months sober and has also been in multiple service commitments and sponsors people here in the program. So let's hear it for Polly. We got Brooke Batchelor, who's super nervous right there. She's also service commitments and has 8 months sober. To her left, that's Jackson Batchelor. That's her brother. And he has 7 months sober. We've got Chris Vivanco, who is the singer for us. She's got an amazing voice. She's going to be famous, and she has, she's got 13 months sober. And last but not least, we have Sam Strickland down there on the end, and he has 8 months sober and is also on a lot of service commitments here. So thank y'all also for coming up here, and I know it's a lot. We've talked a lot about it, but you guys are going to do great. So thank you. I'm going to give it back over to Mitch. So thank y'all for coming.
Awesome. So before I introduce our next speaker and who is actually going to be interviewing these kids, one of the things I just wanted to touch on, because it just isn't honestly talked about a lot, right? And I would be willing to say over the last decade, two of the largest kind of conversations and things that have come up in just the country, right, would be the legalization of marijuana and the opioid epidemic, right? And it's one of those things like the stigma, right, where it's like, we don't really want to talk about that. We don't really want to address that. And so once again, I just want to reiterate like how big of a deal it is for y'all that y'all are up here and getting to learn kind of firsthand, this is what was going on with me when I was using, or my experience of that, right? And so with that being said, I'm going to introduce our interviewer for the night, Cindy Mills, Commissioner Cindy Mills. Most of y'all know her. She has led a lot of different initiatives in the county. Two of the biggest ones would be mental health and with substance abuse, right? She was actually one of the people that helped the position at the alternative school Gateway even become a thing to help youth get the help that they need. So with that being said, here's Cindy Mills.
So I didn't know if it's thundering or raining or just I think we're going to tap dance. It made me think of my Sarita Herd days when I was 5 and I took tap dancing. Sort of get that feel back. I'm glad you mentioned Gateway. I wish you could come up here and say it. So the Gateway principal is here with us, and very rarely does government function in the way that it should, and I say that, and I've been in government now 9 years, but she said something that really, and I'll cry, but it touched my heart, because you don't see government cross. And our government, our Board of Commissioners, paid for the counselor and did a 3-year, and then we've just done it again for 3 years more. Matt back there, I mean, knows we did it. And she just, I mean, we had a girl come before us and tell us that it saved her life, and that having Mitch there literally saved her life. But to hear the principal say that that has given her a tool to have in her school that she never had before, that to have a person that she can go and be able to say to parents, I've got somebody that I can say this with authority. I have somebody that I can turn to, and I can tell you that this is the truth, and that I can turn to and say that this is a difference. And I tried to say that to Governor Kemp when he put money in to help, and we went to the sheriff, and he put in $10,000 of drug seizure money. But sometimes in life, it's just the right thing to do. And it helps. Jennifer's back there with drug court, and we knew that if we could get a counselor, it might not help every one of the kids, but if it helps some to stop going, to prevent them from going from marijuana to opiates, that's what we were hoping. If we could just get them not to turn and get on opiates, because if they get on opiates, the chance of them dying increased exponentially. And that was what we wanted to stop, was more kids from dying. And so that was the goal, was if we can just stop more kids from dying, because we saw so many that were dying. And to have a community, if nobody gets anything else from this meeting today, I hope that you guys up here see how many people care about you. Because I don't think that there's a lot of communities that have so many people that care. And that is that I think sets us apart. And when you can have different forms of government and different parts of the community that will come out and that do care and that brings resources together, I mean, it doesn't take everybody, it just takes a few. And if you can get just a few that really care, you can make a difference. But you got to have a few kids that care too. And I think that we're lucky to have y'all up here today, because I think that when you have a few kids that care and that will come forth and will be honest and share, and you get people that will listen, it really makes a big difference. So thank y'all. All right. So on to our questions. So Emma, you get to be first, because you are more wise and experienced from being you were on our Suicide Summit panel. If y'all have never watched that, you should go online and watch that. We had a suicide panel. The kids did a great job with that. So Emma, how old were you when you started getting high?
Do you think I need a microphone? Yes.
Yeah, because they're recording.
Okay. I first drank alcohol when I was 10, and I first started continuously getting high when I was 11.
Thank you. Thank you for being honest about that. So was there any outside issues going on that sort of led to that?
I think the first time I drank, it was out of curiosity, but my anxiety had peaked when I reached like 5th grade to middle school, and it was really hard for me to make friends and connect with people. So I felt very alone and isolated, and even from my family or people that I had been friends with my whole life. And the isolation that I felt even before COVID was just so intense that I thought, hey, this will be fun.
So I told y'all I'd go off script, but when you used, did it make the anxiety go away? Did it make you feel more accepted?
in the moment and around certain people, but it was never lasting.
Were there concerns as you saw other peers using before you tried it?
I was one of the first out of most of my friends to start using, but there was one other girl that I knew, and I really couldn't see much of like her life, how it had changed, but over time I had realized that she was just getting more and more sick, and it wasn't helping any of her mental health.
So looking back, now that you've been clean and you understand more, what were some of the biggest changes you saw in yourself and probably in other people around you when you were using?
I think, so you mean when I started using?
Yeah, when you
the-
started using, and even when what you saw of yourself, the way you looked at yourself and others, just what was surrounding you at that time.
I think my outlook on the world just got a lot more negative, and I didn't see a point to anything. I was very apathetic, and on myself, I would criticize everything that I did unless I was under the influence, and even then it wasn't something I could hold on to. But I think I just got a lot more negative and a lot less caring towards people that I used to love and like passions that I had.
All right. It seems like it seems like I'd move on and come back, but I'll finish on with you. When you started using, were you concerned about the impact it was having on your school, or and how did that change after you got sober?
I didn't care about school at all. I wasn't interested in going because I didn't feel like I had any friends there. I didn't think I would last long enough to like graduate, so I didn't think it would matter if I passed middle school. And I felt very just alone, like socially, and my grades just weren't important to me at all. And when I got sober, I realized that it took some time for me to start caring about my responsibilities, but I realized that this is just one of the things that I get to do. I get to have an education and a school system that is trying to improve and learn about, just gain awareness. So I think I started caring a lot more, and it just got a lot easier for me to make friends and be more social.
When you were in the throes of using, was there anything your parents could have done?
I don't think so. I think before there could have been changes like to prevent me from using, but once I started, I don't think there was much that they could have done.
Was there any drug education that you had received prior to using? Was there any drug education? Were you aware of what you were getting into?
I had a couple DARE presentations in my health classes, but they made me more curious because they weren't real. They were kind of just like a light touch on the subject. They weren't very detailed about what could really happen and like the environments that it'll be shown, like the drug, how drugs can affect you. It wasn't very accurate, so it made me more curious.
And how, obviously it didn't. The question is, how did it affect your decision to use? It obviously didn't. It didn't have much of an effect, did it?
No.
It made you more curious. All right, Brooke.
Sorry.
Brooke, you're eager, I can tell. So, what did you think when you found out your brother and sister was using?
I kind of got curious too. I was like, seems like they're having fun, and I kind of want to do that too.
What's the difference in your age? How much younger?
We're a year and 3 days apart. Well, 5 days apart. And then my other sister, I want to say 3 years. Yeah.
So, was there anything going on at school, home, sports, friends at that time?
Around the time I started using, I got into basketball, and I again saw my siblings using, so I was intrigued. 'Cause it was a lot of stress with basketball because I was new and didn't know what I was doing, and I got bullied a lot in middle school, so I thought maybe it would do something.
So what was it like when you got sober and your brother was using?
It was very tempting because he would come downstairs and be like, hey, like, you want to smoke? And I would be like, no, I'm in FullCircle. And he was like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to be outside if you want to come. So it was a lot of temptations, but I eventually got through it.
And so compare that to what it's been like with both you and your brother sober now.
Well, we don't fight anymore. We used to like literally fist fight each other. And it's kind of like, instead of, hey, you want to go smoke, it's, hey, you want to go to the shop, like you want to hang out, and we get along a lot better, yeah.
So why do you think you started using self-esteem, peer influence, fun, and why do you think you continue to use?
I think I started mostly because of like anxiety and like, again, I saw my siblings. I don't want to say like I started, like I kept using because of that, but it is addictive, and the more I did harder drugs, like the more addicted I got. I never really got to a point where I was like, hey, I want to stop this. It was always, I want to do more, and it just the chemicals in my brain.
Where would you use?
There's a sliding glass door in my room, and I would go outside and I would do stuff out there, or I would go down to the lake the lake's in my backyard, so I would go down there, or in my brother's room.
What methods did you use to hide in schools and from the law and your parents?
Like hide the drugs.
Mm-hmm. Or to hide, did you ever use at school?
I did use at school. I would go into the back stall, the handicap stall, and when I would do coke, I would put it on the toilet paper thing, and I would snort it off of there. At home, I had a little box with a lock and a safe, and I would put everything in there. It eventually broke, so I couldn't get to anything in there, but yeah.
How did you find the drugs you were after?
My first drug dealer, he had a lot, and he was also very into me, so he would give me things for free. And he'd be like, hey, you want to try this? And I'd be like, okay. And it just led to more and more.
And what was your process in obtaining the drugs from them?
Mostly, we would meet, like he would come pick me up after like a basketball game or something, and he would just have a bunch of stuff and like hand it to me and be like, do this, do this, do this. And I'd be like, okay. Yeah.
Did religion influence you to or not to use drugs, continue to use, or decide to get sober?
If I had started using earlier, probably, because around the time I started using is around the time that I stopped going to church for a while. And I wouldn't say it had a big impact because I wasn't doing anything religiously at the time. But now, I would definitely say yes.
Were you concerned about the law at any point?
Sometimes. I wouldn't say very often. There's a few times I ran from the cops, but it's no biggie.
All right. So I think I messed up. I think that my questions on the first, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Polly, and I think I'm going to swing back to Emma. Oh, actually, Polly. Polly. So, Polly, how old were you when you started getting high?
I was 15.
And were there any outside issues going on with you at that time with family or friends?
I had gotten bullied like all of my middle school years, and that led to like not even like anxiety, just a lot of anger towards like everybody around me. I grew up like with a really well life, like my parents, like everything was a really good life, but I just like grew such a hatred and anger towards everything because that's how I was treated. So that's like how I treated everybody else.
And so were there concerns as you saw your other peers using before you tried it?
I was actually the last person to try anything, so it was like once I tried it, I like fell in love with it and I kind of just like dove all the way in. So there was no like easing into it or like trying this and then just like taking a break. It was kind of like, oh, I like this will solve my problems, like, and then I just like couldn't really stop. So
Did you like one particular drug, or did you like everything you tried?
well, so I would try one drug and then I would like it for a while and then I would want something harder and I would get sick of that high. So it was kind of like a gateway drug. So
Piggybacking off of that, when you started using a particular drug, would you try using it a different way for it to have a bigger effect?
oh yeah, like it would be like I would smoke and then I would be like, okay, like this is fun, and then I would get sick of it and then I would like start pills and I would start like snorting it. So I started swallowing. I was like this, like I got sick of it. So then I started snorting and then like it would move on.
All right, looking back, what were the biggest changes you saw when you started using?
Everything. I didn't really care about anything, and like it got to the point where I realized I didn't care, and I like started to feel bad for myself, but I was like, I felt like there was nothing that I could do about it, and like this is just how my life was gonna be. I noticed that I was like treating everybody badly, but I again like didn't really care. That's just like the headspace that I was in. It was just really dark.
And when people say things to you like, your attitude sucks,
That just made me more mad.
because I'm sure you probably heard that.
Oh yeah.
So when you started using, you had no care about your school or your schoolwork?
No.
And did your grades just
My
plummet?
grades actually weren't that bad because my parents cared about my grades. So it was like, okay, like if I'm going to have them off me, then I'm going to keep my grades up. So yeah, they weren't the best, but I also didn't like fail every class. I just started putting less effort into it. But yeah.
So how did that change after you got sober?
Well, when I was getting high, I didn't really see myself with a future, so I didn't really like put any effort into anything. I was like, okay, well, like this is my life. Like, I probably won't even make it like past high school. So it was like there was no point in even trying in anything. And then when I got sober, I like started to see like all the things that I actually could accomplish when I wasn't like putting everything into getting high.
When you started using and got into the throes of it, was there anything that you could have done, your parents could have done differently?
No. I think the biggest thing for me when I was getting sober was just their support, because I know I would not have this time sober if I didn't have my parents backing me up for every step of the way.
Was there any drug education that you had received prior to using, and how did it affect your decisions?
I had like my freshman year health class, and it was like those like super old, like super bad quality videos where it was like these like really like crazy people, and they were like, I did heroin, but it wouldn't give like any like brain effects or like serious effects or side effects that it would cause. So I just didn't really care. I also really didn't pay attention to them. So
And how long had you been using then?
freshman year, I had started like halfway through, so when I saw that, it honestly made me like want to do it more. I don't know why, but it did.
But like Emma had been using for 4 years at that point, if you had started in 5th grade. Well, sort of. But, so, I mean, the thing is, if we're waiting for some kids to start talking about drugs till ninth grade, we've missed the boat on some kids.
Yeah.
Which I know you've got other parents that are saying, how dare you talk about kids about drugs ever. But, I mean, you've got we're waiting. Ninth grade is sort of late. All right, Jackson, I know you are fired up.
Yeah.
So, what did you think when your little sister started using?
That it was my fault. I felt very guilty about it because I know how much she looks up to me, and I knew that I'd been putting off a certain image and that I wasn't really around. Yeah, I really just felt guilty about it all. Felt like it was my fault and that like I'd put that on her because same thing happened with me and my older sister. I'd seen her doing it, and I don't know, I think we like to mimic the people we admire, and that's just kind of how it played out.
And so, was there, when you started to use, other than your older sibling influencing you, was there anything else going on?
Not sports, definitely not. I'm very unathletic. But there was like a lot of internal stuff going on. I didn't feel like I fit anywhere. At school, I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know what to say or like really who to be. But no, it was really just like trying to make my way through school, just with nobody by my side to help me through it.
I think what you said, though, is a really important point, that we try to always label people and put them in boxes. You know, like we try to say, oh, you've got to be an athlete, or you got to belong to this, or you got to belong to that, when, I mean, really in life, how many people really belong in any certain box? But yet, lots of times in high school, I mean, you got a high school with 3,000 kids, and how many people really belong in any kind of a box? But yet, we sort of make people feel like, maybe if we don't even intend to, kids feel like, well, if I don't belong to this group, or I don't belong to this sport, or if I'm not a jock, or I'm not a this, or I'm not a that, or I'm not, then I don't fit. When really,
It's not the case.
we gotta change that way of thinking so people feel more content of just being themselves.
I definitely agree.
All right, so so what was it like when you saw your sister, either the older one or the younger one, get sober? Did she get sober before you?
Yeah, she got sober before me. I think my older sister did too. It's confusing with her, but she definitely did get sober before me. She met her brother at, it was like a Walmart parking lot, a red light. So she had got introduced to the group before me, and like she said, like I would still go down there and like ask her, like, hey, do you want to come do this? Like, you want to come smoke some weed? I'm not entirely sure how I felt about it at first, because one part of me was like, it's very selfish, but I felt like I had finally gotten my sister to do something I like to do, which was very unhealthy. It was a drug addiction. But it was like, finally, like, I got my little sister to do stuff with me. And then I didn't have her anymore. I was like, man, where are these guys trying to take her away from me? But I think I knew deep down that she was getting what she needed and deserved, which was help and probably some much needed time away from me. But, yeah, a lot of mixed emotions.
And did it at all make you want to be sober too?
No,
Not at all.
no.
Dang.
It definitely didn't, because this comes down to who I am, but I'm a very cynical person. So I saw like something taking my little sister away, but didn't have enough, I don't know, foresight to see that it was good. So I was like that much more tempted to keep doing what I was doing and get further down that rabbit hole.
So what made you decide to get sober?
So my mom, admittedly, I blew this off for like 2 weeks before I joined. I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to get out of my pit, I guess. But I came here on her 30 days. So she had just gotten 30 days sober. She got one of these, one of our fists, like our token. I was high when I showed up, but it was like, it felt like a lot of stuff had just been lifted off of me. I saw her getting something, and like, to be honest, there's not a lot in the world I care about more than her. So it was like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. Even if I really don't want to, she probably wants me to, so it's really her.
No, it's you.
I definitely had my own willpower and my own drive to do it. That definitely came later on. But like getting sober, I wanted to be a respectable role model for her, because I probably put her down that road, so I could probably help guide her off if I just got on it with her.
So how old were you when you started to use?
I was 13. The first time I had like really tried any substance, I was 12. I'd smoked a cigarette, and I was 12. It was disgusting. Like, but 13, that's like around freshman, 8th grade year. Some friends just had wanted to go do it, and I wanted to be somewhere with some people. So I was like, hey, I'd say about until sophomore year, it was really just like low level, but I picked it up really quick.
It stuck quick.
Yeah, definitely.
And did it make you feel better about yourself?
No, it didn't, but it was something more consistent than my own thoughts. Because again, like going back to what I said, you don't feel like you fit in anywhere, even though there's nowhere to fit in to begin with. And just kind of like battling myself was very tiring. And then along came something that, whether it was temporary or not, made me feel better in some capacity. It took it out of my mind for a day.
Did religion play any part in it? To use or not use, or to continue to use, or to decide to get sober?
Honestly, it made me want to keep doing it. Because I think something organized and, I don't know, all the togetherness of it all was very polar to where I was in my life. I was very alone. It was just me and myself and my own bad habits. And then I would think about religion, and it was so far opposed to what I thought I should be that I just got spiteful, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do anything but what you want me to do. So it definitely urged me on to keep using.
Were you concerned about law enforcement at any point, about getting caught?
I think as paranoid as you can be in that kind of mindset, like an induced mindset, like even when they showed up today, I was still nervous. I just made eye contact with them. But, I always knew, like, it was wrong. I knew it was bad. I knew it was illegal. Because, like they said, you'd seen the videos. Like, they show you at school, like, DARE program. And I guess it just didn't really matter because I didn't have that foresight. I couldn't think past myself and what I wanted. So it's kind of like, well, there's not a consequence in the world that could stop me from doing what I want to do because I want to do it.
Sort of felt bulletproof?
Yeah, and I trusted in my legs way too much. Like, I was like, nah, I'll just run. But bad idea.
All right, Sam and Chris, I'm going to ask y'all these together. I'm going to do it right on y'all.
Go for it.
So I'm going to ask a question, then you both answer it, okay? What was getting sober like for each of you?
It was hard. I mean, it was scary and hard, but I think the coolest part of it was like realizing that, I don't know, like all the stuff I was going through before, like I struggled more with like the mental illness side of things. So I started self-harming very young. I didn't really start drinking until I had like moved out, was later in my life. But I don't know, I think all of that I was doing alone, you know, and like the craziest thing was coming here and realizing that all of that was really hard and I did that all alone. But this was really hard, but I was doing it with people that like actually cared and like had my back and that I could see have been through what I'd been through and were somehow happy. And so like if they could do it, like, I mean, I ought to give it a try. I didn't really have anything left to lose. So it was kind of worth it, you know?
Yeah, challenging. It wasn't easy, but I mean, I was in the group for like I came here like try to get sober, like 8 months before I actually got sober. So, here, sorry guys. Yeah, Chris helped me out though. But yeah, it was quite a while before I like actually like made a decision, but yeah, it's been challenging, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was really fun, honestly. Once you just like give up that will, you know, give up your hands, but yeah.
And Chris, I know from your helping with the Suicide Summit, I mean, your mental health, it was a real struggle. You want to talk about that for a second? Just, you've made several attempts on your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a lot of things that weren't talked about. And so I thought that everything I was feeling and was all wrong. And if it was wrong, then I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And if I talked about it, I wouldn't be accepted or I would be condemned. So I just started condemning myself because that just felt like it was right. And unfortunately, it did lead to multiple attempts. I think I came here after like my 5th or 6th. And a friend in the group was able to bring me. And I don't know, it was a devastating, lonely life. And it just felt like there was nobody that was reaching out that I could even like look at. And I don't know, I think I've come to realize a lot of it, like I had a lot more power than I thought I did. But at the time, I was trying to like, I don't know, write a book that I didn't even know about. Like nobody had guided me or told me that this was a possibility to feel like this or that this is something that you might run into or this is you might feel like this when you're going through like certain things, but no, like there was no guidance. So I was trying to just like swim without being taught. And unfortunately, it led me down a lot of really dark roads. And yeah, it was incredibly challenging.
So how was it like trying to balance getting sober and doing schoolwork?
So I got kicked out of school my junior year after having too many panic attacks. They told me I was a liability. Didn't really give me another look. And that's actually after that was my first attempt because they told like the whole school that I was like this horrible person and they all believed it. So I went home and homeschooled myself until I got my diploma because I was a perfectionist and needed that. And when I joined the group though, I had already graduated in 2020 and I had actually had like a full-time job that I actually ended up quitting the day I joined because Mike told me to put recovery first and that everything would follow. And that to me was insane because I had moved out already, I had bills to pay, I had a car, I had gas, I had all these expenses, but for some reason it was like, I have literally nothing to lose. Like, I mean, it's either this or death. Like, I've already tried so many times, why not try this? And so now I'm very blessed, but I'm working a full-time job with a bunch of people that are sober and in the Insight program. And it's incredible. And I'm able to work a full-time job and make sure that I get the love that I need and support that I need. It blows my mind. I'm truly, truly blessed. I would not be able to get anywhere. It's like to this point that I'm in now without God and these people and the God through these people. Yeah. But Sam is in school still.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still in school.
All right, Sam. How is it, Sam?
How is it or how was it?
How is it to be
How do I balance it
working
now?
on, how do you balance it all?
Oh, staying on my stuff, If I'm like if I'm not taking the actions I need to take, and like if I'm not like if I don't love myself, I can't do anything, honestly. You ask my mom, we're sitting right there. But yeah, it was crazy for a long time. I mean, I didn't do anything. Oh my God, like it started in elementary school. Like I just didn't do anything. But I lied about it. I lied about everything. And up until like, gosh, last year, I mean, it was just up and down, and I mean, it took. I got kicked out of school. I got suspended from school. Just decided not to go to school. I got taken out of school to go to rehabs a couple times. But to be honest with you, I didn't really care. I didn't really care about anything. So, and I didn't like it wasn't like a priority for me. Trying like first going and getting sober. If like when I like actually made the decision to get sober, I didn't technically, but basically I like dropped out. Like I like put it down, you know, because I couldn't do it. I needed to like focus on myself. It's too much at the time. Now I came back to school in November, and I hadn't done any senior classes. I'm a senior, and I'm about to graduate in a month.
Yay.
So yeah, What actions am I taking? Who am I hanging around with? Like, it's so many things. You know, if I don't love myself, it's just I just need to take the right actions to love myself to be able to do anything. So yeah.
I think you touched on something that is one of the biggest things in addiction that we sometimes skim over, or we don't like to focus on, that really is the most important part. And parents especially, it's so hard to grasp, and it's so hard. My dad was an alcoholic, and it was so hard for me to ever accept, and I'm going to be 60 this year. I know that's hard to believe. I look so young. But to really be able to understand that somebody can love something as much as they can love another human. And if you're not an addict, it's hard for you to understand that it can literally take that kind of place in the brain. But it does, and that's how it works. But that's not what we teach in our health classes, or we haven't. But that's literally how it works. I mean, that's how the dopamine, that's what happens in addiction. And it takes the same role as your mom. I mean, it literally, the love of the drug replaces, I mean, it gets in there. And when I would go to my dad and beg him not to drink, or when he quit for 2 years and started back, and I begged him to just lay it down and not to do it again, it wasn't, in my mind, if he loved me, he wouldn't do it. But that wasn't the way it worked. It is literally not how it works. It's not that easy. It's not the way, it's not an equivalent love for love type thing. And that, I think that's the biggest misconception that we have difficult getting through, because in our mind, if you're not an addict, you can't associate the same way that people that are. And I think that that's a stigma that we need to educate and to get past, because I think if I were a parent, I would think, well, if my child loves me, they would not. Or if my husband or my whatever, you know, it should be about the love.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, it's not. It replaces that. So how long have you been able, now that you've been sober, to get the love thing back? Or do you still feel the love thing? I mean, I know you're still
How long did it take to feel the love, like here?
Or like the love for yourself. You just have
Oh,
to
love
work
for
for it
myself.
every day because you lose the love for yourself.
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, the substances were my higher power. That was my God. And when I took that away, it was, I'm just me, and I hated me. So, I think what you said about the boxes, there's. Sorry, guys, I keep bringing it all the way down here, but there's a lot of boxes, that you feel like you have to check, and that was for me when I walked in any room, I saw 10 different boxes and I didn't fit in one, and not one of them, and that's just how I felt for a really long time. And then it took, a while. Like I said, I was relapsing for 8 months. I didn't want to let love in. I was the same with you. My dad's a severe alcoholic. And it took a really, I didn't receive that love growing up, and I didn't like it. I came here and everybody's like, "I love you," and I'm like,
You
Yeah,
don't know how to
see.
receive it.
yeah,
It's hard to
exactly.
receive if you haven't.
Yeah,
You
it's
didn't
like,
grow
prove
up
it.
that way.
Yeah. That's just how I worked, and it was, it took a long time for me to, I remember talking to Mike, I didn't know what a man was, It was, I thought a man was you shove it down and you just keep on doing what you're doing, and that's what I thought it was. I was 16 years old and would go home after school and just sit there and just smoke weed all night or drink or pop a bunch of Adderall pills that I had or Vyvanse pills, but I was prescribed them. That was what I thought is that's how things are supposed to be, because that's what my dad did. That's what I saw growing up is he'd come home after a hard day at work and just need a beer, need this, need that. It's so I thought that's what I needed, but I needed the love, and eventually, when I came into the group, of course, there was a couple people that I made a click with. It was this kid named Peyton. He's a wild person. He's still in the group, but there's a reason he's not here. No, I'm just kidding. No, just kidding. No, he's awesome though. But I instantly connected with him. I actually got high with him, but at McDonald's, worked at McDonald's together. But yeah, that's how my life was, guys. Yeah, just worked at McDonald's. But yeah, when I first came in, it was I found those people and the people who were still getting high, and I still never let that in. I still never let that love in until eventually I was, gosh. I still got high after I crashed my car into the ditch. I crashed my car into a ditch. Yeah, that was bad, but got arrested. Jackson, I feel you. But glad y'all are here though. But gosh, what was that?
So let me help you through your recovery.
Oh yeah. There's there's half of them are in this room, Mitch is it's probably saved my life. Honestly, he's the one who very beginning I got sent to Gateway, and he's like, "Bro, you should come." And I tried it out eventually, and then I stuck. But Mike, Gabby, my parents. One of them's here, my mom, family. And they're sitting beside each other. And there's so many adults, that have that were concerned. So yeah.
Chris, what about you?
Definitely the counselors here. My sponsor, she's not here anymore, but there's not in this state. Victoria Ray, she spoke at the Suicide Summit with us as well. She was a huge influence on my sobriety. I think that she saved my life at the beginning, and then Mike shoved me into like the things that I was really scared of to look at. And no, yeah, without the counselors here, like, I can guarantee you the love that we all have for our counselors, even though we bully them, it's real. Like, it's so real. I think all of us would die for our counselors. I mean, they saved our lives.
So I want to ask you, and then we're going to finish up, but what substances do you see are very easy to get access in the community?
I mean, I've seen like 13-year-old kids at like skate parks with weed. Like, it's everywhere. I know my younger siblings have been affected, as well as my older siblings. I mean, they get it from each other. It's really easy. I mean, alcohol is really easy. It's literally everywhere. I don't know. I think it's a lot in the school systems. I mean, the number of like girls I've sponsored, or younger siblings or relatives, like just videos of them getting high in the bathroom. Like, they'll like talk about the bathroom at North, and they'll be like, "Don't go in that bathroom." Like, that specific bathroom, we tell our kids in the group to stay away from, because like that's where they go. Or they'll be like, if they have relapse, the call I'm usually getting is, "Chris, like the girl just handed it to me in the bathroom and I couldn't say no." Like, it's the school systems. It really is. And it's like, it's heartbreaking, because like that's where we're supposed to be getting an education, and that's like should be a safe thing. But we have kids that are afraid to go to school because that's where the biggest temptation is, and it's overlooked. Yeah.
So do you have anything to add to that?
Everything. Everything you could possibly imagine is like right there in the school. Gosh, I mean, I've seen kids who've come in here who've, like, their drug of choice is, and they're like 13 or 14, and their drug of choice is fentanyl. Like, that's like because they started doing like opioids, just like different kinds of things like that, painkillers. Fentanyl's in everything now. It's, by the way, like the #1 cause of death for teens in America. Millions and millions and millions of people are dying. And I see it in the schools. I still go to school in this era. I still see it. And it's, so yeah, it's in the school system. It's, and if it's not at the school system, it's at jobs. Like, a lot of kids who are young, they get jobs like I did at McDonald's, or at some like random, anywhere. You could literally go anywhere and get a job, and there's gonna be people there who get high. There's gonna be people on acid at work. Like, I knew people who did that. So literally everything every class of drug you could think of, and every kind of person you could think of. Definitely some scary people. So, yeah.
So what do you think professionals could be doing to help people get off drugs?
Oh gosh, Mitch. Need more Mitch. Mitch, step it up, bro. No, but more, yeah. I mean, really, like, more people like Gabby and Mitch who work in these schools. Like, golly, like, I was glad. I wasn't happy in the time. You remember this? I got sent to Gateway, but that saved my life, even going there, because I met Mitch, and like, he started meeting with me in the minute that he just started to talk to me, he recognized it. You know, I was like I was a really bad addict, like terrible.
My dad always said you can't BS another addict.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you can't. If you go to get treatment, you never go to a place that is put on by somebody that's not an addict,
Oh no, yeah.
because you can fool somebody that's. I mean, you can have the best school counselor in the world, but if they're not trained in addiction, sorry, they're not going to be able to pick up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom's a school counselor.
All right, case in point.
And I like that's funny, but it's also very, very true. It's very,
it
very
is
true.
Very true.
I mean, there's you do not know. You don't know what's going on. You can kind of pick up. Maybe he's like, he's lazy. He needs a job. He needs to go home. I don't know. Whatever. It's just kind of like that. It's just like, like I sleep in your class. Like, I do this, I do that, and then it's just like, that's it. You know, but if it's like Mitch, like the minute he talked to me, he's like, bro, you should go check out this place. And I did, and now I'm here.
All right, I know that people are here and it's time to be going, but I do hope that you've all gathered and got something. I don't know if Mitch wants to say something, but it's got something from this. I want to thank all the kids for being a part of it. I think we as a community, though, need to try to encourage and get more drug counselors into the schools. I really do. I think that it benefits. I mean, for us to pretend that we've got any school that doesn't need it would be very, I mean, we'd be kidding ourselves.
I wonder what a panel like this going into the school systems would do for individuals that haven't tried drugs. I don't know. I think that you have spoken so eloquently and so powerful because you do know. That would be a wonderful way, perhaps. I don't know. What are your feelings on that?
Would it be a whole lot harder to talk in front of a group of kids?
We're trying to do that right now. North and Central have already started it with like the freshman health classes. So people like us like go in and talk about their stories and tell like their life stories and like their addiction stories. So like opens up like a personal view rather than like watching it from a screen.
Absolutely. And
So,
that's
Mitch.
an old education thing, so that it's more real. It's present. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's why we picked Polly up here, right? So one, I wanted to just say thank you all for coming up here and saying everything you did, because that is the whole purpose of this, right? To get to continue to learn. And I also even wanted to just recognize, right, like Bethany over there from Gateway and Mitch. I actually met Mitch over at Central, and it was because it was like, we have the same name. There's not many of us, right? And so that actually started right as I was going over and following kids from Gateway over to Central, and we are in the process of getting some more stuff worked out over there. He's not at Central anymore. You're the... He's somewhere up there. He's somewhere up there, right? Good to know. And so we just got some stuff started at North where we're doing some education in groups as well. So it is kind of starting to, it's being recognized, right? But I think a lot of things start with this right here, and then even the partnerships with the school system, like that goes a long way, and it is starting to move in that direction. So I am really grateful for that. So with that being said, if y'all have any like follow-up questions or thoughts, feel free to reach out to me. I believe my information was up there on the sign-in desk. If not, you can just look up the Forsyth County Drug Awareness Council. Next time I will put on the flyer that you get a free dance recital as well, right? So with that being said, though, let's give it up one more time for these guys up here. And thank you all for coming out.